Hello.
Evening.
I'm always surprised by how many phone calls I have to go past to get back to last week ago to call you. I don't remember making that many phone calls.
Are you still using both numbers on the same phone?
No, I'm actually not. But because I was at one point in time, it's still linked up to my Mac. So if I were to make a phone call, it'd show up. Like my text messages. Yeah,
Yeah, I was noticing with other improvements or changes, like on the work phone, I see all the different meetings that I attend in the call history.
Yeah.
And so that's what I wasn't sure if maybe that was part of it too.
No. I actually don't use my phone for calls. I use the link, the Google Meet link.
Yeah, I do too. Those actually show up in the phone roster as well for me.
Oh, interesting. They don't show up in my phone roster.
Huh.
Mm-hmm. Unless I am just not paying attention. Ooh, I saw that you added something there that just got my interest up.
Which one?
Michael Biehn.
Okay, yeah.
That doesn't. I mean, you put Michael Biehn in there. I don't think it's going to be a micro topic.
Probably not. Then again, I don't really think our micro topics are micro topics.
They are relative to our topics.
True. Do you see we have a new category of topic as well?
Super micro topic, yes.
Yeah. We're going to see if that ends up being kind of a micro topic or not.
Yeah. Well, we should get to that super micro topic right after you do your follow-up.
Yeah, the follow-up is actually just from a discovery that we made this past weekend that I kept referring to the pair of shoes that I have as the vapor gloves, and come to find out that was not what I ordered. So we don't have the exact same pair of shoes. The ones that I ordered were the Move Glove Sport, which is similar, but it's not quite the same shoe.
Yeah, I need to show you things make sense to me now, because one time you're like, I could hike in that, I could climb in that, and I'm just like, there's no way I'd climb in the vapor glove. I've tried walking. It's like if there's a rock, it's like it doesn't fit. It's not good.
Yeah, and so the backstory is that I was looking at the vapor glove, ended up seeing a review on the Move Glove Sport that talked about it fitting better for outdoor activity, and decided I would try it. And lo and behold, I ended up ordering that one instead of the Move Glove. Vapor Glove.
Yeah, I 100% believe that to be the case in a review. Like any review, every review comparing the two. I like the Vapor Glove. It is a super thin minimalist shoe, and I like it. And I don't know why I said super. It's just a thin minimalist shoe. The super is not necessary. I don't need that kind of hyperbole in my life.
We're just going to have it in a moment with the topic anyway.
That's different. That's different because you're distinguishing it from a micro topic. Anyway. That reminds me, one time my cousin was going to take super, and he's like, we got to take it to the next level. It's like things are going to be ultra from now on. Like this is an ultra micro topic. It's an ultra thin minimalist shoe. No. So the Vapor Glove's a thin minimalist shoe, and I initially bought it to have as a camp shoe so that I could walk around, and that just isn't necessary anymore because I have changed from using... Well, even before I changed from boots to some good trail runners, I wasn't going to use it as a camp shoe just because it was not worth carrying. So, but using the trail runner, it just makes that a moot point to begin with because those are relatively comfortable, and it's like I either want to get my feet out of all shoes, full stop, or that shoe will suffice. So, super micro topic. I saw that. I was amused, but I don't understand. I can't. There's nothing here for me to understand what's going to happen. So
yeah,
take it away.
I kept it intentionally extremely vague.
Yeah.
Well
done.
I was looking at just the past history of Move goals and achievements and all that you get through the Apple Activity app. and I am on a 317-day streak of filling all 3 goals.
Whoa. Whoa. That's awesome.
In 18 days, I'll hit 1,000 move goals, which I would have technically hit sooner, but I've lost my health data a couple of times playing with betas and moving back and forth and not getting all that seamlessly moved around the way it should be. But that's what the 18 is for. It's for in 18 days, I'll hit 1,000 move goals.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about that meme where you have the guy he's sweating because he's got to make a decision of which button to push, and the 2 buttons for you are potentially losing my health data and new or
playing with the beta.
Yeah, playing with the beta and potentially losing my health data, or no, keeping my health data, or playing with new beta.
Yeah, speaking of, did you see any of the info about the new iOS beta?
Negative. I didn't see anything.
There's a neat feature where if you do have an Apple Watch, ever since the introduction of, I think it was since the beginning, it may have been a second or third watchOS version, but either way, when you unlock your phone, if the watch is on your wrist, it will unlock as well. You can have that seamlessly work together. With the new iOS beta that was just seeded, you can have the opposite also happen.
Oh.
And it's a response to masks being common where you can, if your watch is unlocked, I think it's if your watch is unlocked, it will unlock the phone. And you get that haptic feedback that the watch has unlocked it. Similar to how you can use your watch to unlock the Mac.
That's cool.
I haven't looked at all the details, but I was very tempted, and I decided no, I'm just going to wait. I can accept this feature coming soon.
keep my health data, please. You're too close to a year.
Well, and that's the whole reason. It was like, no, I'm not going to risk it at this point.
Yeah. Did you see the new watch?
I did not.
So there is a Apple Watch Series 6 Black Unity and a Black Unity Sport Band.
I did see reference to it, and so I know the idea behind it is in celebration of Black History Month, but I haven't seen any images or anything yet.
So it's a limited edition Apple Series 6 Apple Watch. It's a black aluminum case, and then a sport band that it's not the sport band that's a single loop without any clasp. It's the one with the clasp, and it's got the colors of Mother Africa. It's black, red, and green. And the one of the really cool detail I saw is the clasp part, the inside of the clasp part. So like the part that's next to your wrist, that on the other side there's a little bump so that it goes through the hole in the band. It says truth, power, solidarity. It's pretty cool.
That's pretty neat. Yeah.
I like that you can get a black watch right now. I think that's pretty cool. And
is it the aluminum case?
It is aluminum.
It's still tempting.
Yeah.
I'm perfectly happy with my steel one. I absolutely love it. The only thing that I have a knock against it for is the same thing that any reviewer has pointed out between the aluminum and the steel. The haptic feedback is not as pronounced in the steel case, but I mean that's relatively minor.
It's like I wouldn't have thought of that, but I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
See, it super micro topic. It works.
It does. Another super micro topic is that Justin Timberlake has got an Apple TV Plus show coming up.
I saw that. I don't know anything about it, but the name of it is Parlor, correct?
Palmer.
Sorry, too recent to the insurrectionists.
Yeah. If I had to guess, he looks like he's going to play a working class man from the South, which at some point in time he was. So.
Yeah, I can't say that I've had any knocks against any of his forays into acting. I think he's done a decent job.
Yeah, so his music's not my favorite, but I recognize that he's a great musician. It's just not my cup of tea. and he's a great performer, and he's a good actor, and I don't think it will be disappointing at all. I think Apple's Apple TV Plus, as it has been said by other folks, is kind of like filling a space that HBO is leaving behind. You've heard this, right?
Yeah, I've heard the comparison.
Yeah, and I thought that was kind of cool because it's like, I haven't heard of like any stinkers on Apple TV Plus. Like, I've heard some stuff that's like, okay, that's, it's good, but it's not, it's not to my taste. But nobody's like said, okay, that bombed. And they've actually got some, they've got some really good shows. So
yeah, it's I think it's something that even if I hadn't changed to the Apple One subscription, I probably would have continued to maintain Apple TV Plus either way.
It's interesting. My subscription got extended 3 months. The free one that I got with an iPhone, it got extended 3 months.
Yeah, I got an email about that. I don't think I benefit from it anymore, having the bundle, or at least I haven't seen any kind of like credit for what I would have been paying coming back to me. But I'm realistically what I am paying, even minus that, is what I was paying Apple total for different services anyway. So I don't really care.
Yeah, it's like, my thought about it is like, if you're going to get an Apple One membership that includes Apple TV Plus, then okay, you're foregoing like a free, extension that never had to be given to you. It just happened to be something. So, but whatever.
Back to Timberlake real quick.
Yeah.
The inauguration day, the Celebrate America event that evening. Did you watch that?
Yeah. No, I wanted to, but I didn't.
So he and another artist, the artist was Ant Clemens, whom I had never heard of prior to seeing this performance, but they performed a song called Better Days, and it was really good.
Oh, cool. I wanted to see Jon Stewart on there, and I think Jon Stewart's got a TV show upcoming on Apple TV Plus or Netflix, one of the two.
It's Apple TV.
Okay. Oh my gosh, that's a reason to have Apple TV Plus. I wanted to watch the Foo Fighters, and I didn't get to. I had other things going on that precluded me from watching, so I did not see it.
Yeah, if you get a chance to catch it, I mean, some of it I kind of zoned out and did other stuff on, but it was a good televised event. So I put in another micro topic that just caught my eye that may end up being more of a topic because of your earlier comment. But there was a trekking crew from Nepal that became the first to make the K2 mountain climb in winter.
Ooh.
And I mean, that in and of itself, of course, is a fairly remarkable achievement. What caught my eye is that at the top, they revealed Liverpool jerseys. And that was just the icing on the cake for me.
I'm looking at the picture. That's brilliant.
I saw the headline about I had seen the headline about the climbers achieving the feat a day or so ago, I think. And I happened to see another headline this evening in a Liverpool-focused app. And it's like, why am I seeing it here?
Right.
And then I pulled up the story and realized why. And so it was just, fun. I did take the time to add a couple of stats about K2 just because. Most of it is because I knew it was a very difficult climb and one of the tallest in the world. But I did not realize it was the second highest mountain in the world after Everest. That it's only 800 feet-ish shorter than Everest.
I didn't realize it was that, so insignificantly smaller. Like that's hardly anything.
Yeah, and that led me to reading a little more about, difficult climbs and everything. And K2 is rated as the most difficult climb because of how technical the climb is, and much harsher conditions and much less support structures in place or far fewer support structures in place, less guides, et cetera, et cetera. So it was kind of fascinating.
Yeah, I did know that K2 was considered the most difficult mountain to climb, and I think there's like a number of mountains that are ahead of Everest as far as rated difficulty. And as we've talked about with rock climbing, it's like it's a lot more subjective than you'd like for it to be. But the explanation I've heard for K2 being a more difficult climb is makes sense to me. Like that, you can point out certain things that are like, okay, this is more difficult. But it just seems like you could probably take a few sticks of dynamite and make K2 the tallest mountain in the world. I even looked here at your numbers. 28,251 feet versus 29,029 feet. And I'm just like, oh wow, that's in mountain climbing, that's it's not insignificant, but it just seems like, ooh, that's just chop off the top a little bit.
Yeah, you give enough time with erosion, and maybe they'll be equal.
Yeah. So what's interesting, I watched a documentary about Everest, and it just made me think it's like I have absolutely no intention of ever wanting to do that. Basically, all you need is the $60-ish grand, $60,000 US dollars to pay the Nepalese government for permits, and you can go. There's no restrictions other than being able to afford the permits, and obviously transportation there and so forth. But the mountain is littered with dead bodies that won't decompose because they will stay permanently frozen up there. People go, they die, they don't want their bodies to be brought down because they're like, if I die doing this, that's where I want my body to rest. And then they talk about how because the window of time to actually climb the mountain opens and closes periodically. You end up with so many people trying to climb at once. They go to the base camp, they hang out until a window opens up where they can climb, and then it's like they compared it. The trek up was compared to waiting in line to go on an attraction at Disney World. There's just so many people there wanting to go at once, and it sounds kind of miserable.
And the other thing that I would point out is that some of the bodies are not retrieved just because of the dangers inherent in attempting to retrieve them.
Yeah. One or the other. It's like, I don't know. And then the Nepalese government does not really protect the working conditions of the Sherpas, and that's also,
I think that's putting it mildly.
Yeah. It's quite problematic, and so it's definitely a human rights issue, or human rights issues.
I called out this other fact just because it was something I hadn't realized. K2 is the only mountain in the 8,000 meter bracket that has never been climbed from its eastern face.
Ooh, why is that?
I didn't take the time to read far enough to know for sure why, but I'm assuming it's harsh conditions and maybe at a certain point it's the lack of ability to scale it fast enough with whatever reserves of oxygen you could potentially carry to survive. Yeah,
just overly difficult terrain and so forth. One of the mountains that sort of interests me, and it's kind of like it's in my bucket list, is to climb Kilimanjaro. I don't think the hike up Kilimanjaro, I don't know, but from what I've read, it's not overly difficult. It's not that
it's
it's
a subjective
easy.
Phrase.
Right. Yeah. I know. It's like I've seen things that are rated. It's like, a point of comparison would be like the hike that we've talked about, that we've been on, Gros Piton. The whole thing is rated as difficult or hard in most places where you read about the trail. And I can think of another hike that is also considered hard or difficult, and it's like the easiest part of the Gros Baton hike. So it's just like, okay, at some point it's like easy, moderate, difficult is not, 3 grades is not enough. So no, I was reading about it, and it's not, Kilimanjaro is not an overly technical hike. I think it takes up and down, it takes like 9 days or so, because it is the longest, it's the most elevation gain you can get in a hike. Because you start at sea level and you go up 19,000 feet.
So that's doable in a day.
Oh God, I hope not.
Yeah, no, that is absolutely not doable in a day. Well, I say that. I'm sure there is someone on the extreme sports side that has probably attempted and done so. But, for the general person, that is not a day hike.
Yeah, it's like the people who are completing the Appalachian Trail in less than 45 days. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, it's assisted, so that's different than an unassisted hike. But I'm sure the unassisted hike is quite short too, but it's not going to be like a month and a half. So, yeah. The other one that I find interesting, and I think it turns out to not be that interesting of a hike, because there's not really anything that is, I don't know. It's not typical. It's not, as far as the scenery. It's not necessarily something I would hike for its specific scenery. But Mauna Kea, on the Big Island of Hawaii, is the tallest mountain in the world. It's just that, I don't know, like half of it is underwater, so it's not the tallest mountain above sea level. But it looks...
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think that's why they talk about the elevation of the peak being how it's measured.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's like when you say Everest, you can never say Everest is the tallest mountain in the world. You say Everest is the highest mountain above sea level. And it's like, but I think it's only 15,000 only. It's 15,000 feet of elevation gain, something like that. It's less than 19,000 feet of elevation gain from where the base camp is.
Yeah, I was just going back and looking at my notes on the heights, and they're very specific in the way they phrase it, that it's X meters or feet above sea level.
Yes.
At the peak.
Yeah.
So that leads to...
Michael Biehn,
yes. Have you seen K2?
The movie K2. No, I don't think so.
I have it, so you have no excuse not to watch that as homework at some point.
That's true.
The whole reason I put the topic in there is just because I can't think of K2 without thinking of that movie. And he had the lead role in the movie, which then makes me think about other things that he has, of course, acted in, and where I first encountered him as an actor. And it encompasses just a wide range of what I grew up watching. And so we don't have to go into it. The whole reason the note is there, though, is for his role in K2.
Oh, we should totally go into this, because Michael Bihn's actually one of my favorite actors.
The first place I saw him was in Navy SEALs. Do you remember that movie?
I do. I haven't seen it, but I do know it.
Yeah. So he and Charlie Sheen were the primary two that I remembered from the movie without going back and watching it. But between that and the original Terminator, he was always on my radar to watch for as an actor, because those were the first two that I saw him in, and so everything I saw him listed in after that, I was more than willing to give a chance to watch. And he's got, a wide range of credits as far as an actor goes.
He really does. And it's interesting that you say that, because I've never heard anyone say, yeah, I watch out for Michael Biehn movies, and because that's exactly what I did. The first thing I saw him in, he was actually a Navy SEAL, but it was a different movie. It was the Abyss. Have you seen The Abyss?
Oh yes.
Yeah. So I saw him in that movie at a friend's house. Her mom had HBO, and it was on in the middle of the day. And I was like, first of all, I thought it was cool that there were movie, like actual, like it was like they put a VHS in, and I thought that was so cool that there was like you could just turn on a channel and watch a movie, and it was like no ads, the glory days of HBO in the 90s. So
Yeah.
I just thought it was so cool. And I just remember the scene where he's going crazy. And spoiler alerts, he goes crazy in that movie from what is the sickness they have?
I haven't watched it in over a decade.
It's from high pressure, diving down to high pressure.
Yeah, it's I'm drawing a blank.
It's some sort of diving sickness.
It's the same thing that you have to watch out for if you're diving with nitrox and go too far, because it has the same type of effect, and I can't remember the actual term for it.
Yeah.
The whole idea is that basically you become loopy and you don't really know what's going on, and many divers have actually, when they've encountered this particular sickness, for lack of better phrasing. Like there have been divers who have pulled a regulator out of their mouth and tried to breathe water because they just didn't understand what was going on around them, and so subsequently drowned.
Oh wow! I didn't realize it was like that.
Yeah, it's basically, for all intents and purposes, it creates a state of deliriousness where you can't discern reality from whatever it is that's happening in your brain at the time.
So, real-time follow-up, it's called HPNS, high pressure neurological syndrome. It's a neurological and physiological diving disorder that can result when a diver descends below 500 feet using a breathing gas containing helium.
There you go.
Yeah. I was able to quickly find it. Just because I knew it was a real thing. That's one of the things I like about James Cameron movies. I realized
Go ahead, because I'm sure I can immediately come up with an argument.
I feel like the little details like that. It's like, okay, we're gonna be okay with him telling us there are underwater aliens that can manipulate water at will and use it as their technology. We're willing to suspend our disbelief for that. But he's like, I'm not gonna just make up a sickness. It's a real thing. I can use it to my advantage, because he's a diver. He's been a diver for quite some time. I think some of his diving expeditions are more impressive than any of the movies that he's made. He's got the record for the deepest dive in a submersible, I think. Anyway,
wasn't that during filming the Titanic documentary, Ghosts of the Abyss?
Yes, that's, and he won't say what he saw. The bastard. So he'll use, he won't just make up a disease to, for a plot point. He actually he utilize an actual existing disorder for a plot point. Now, how accurate the portrayal of it is, I have no clue. I have no clue. But if you're saying that divers have taken off their breathing apparatus and to try to breathe in water, that fits with how the character depicts HPNS. But I was going to say, the two things I remember most from the first time I saw that movie was his character taking his large knife. It was kind of a Rambo style knife, and just like cutting the top of his forearm, just cutting a horizontal. How would you describe? He was cutting across the top of his forearm, so it wasn't lengthwise, and it was into the, it wasn't deep cuts. It was just surface, still cutting himself, but it was surface cuts. But it wasn't like he wasn't trying to commit suicide. He wasn't trying to hurt. He was just going crazy. And so that scene and the scene where the aliens are using the water as a periscope for the first time, those two scenes sort of stick out in my head is from the first time I watched that movie. So I loved Michael Biehn in that movie. That was the first thing I saw him in. I think the second thing I saw him in was Aliens. And there's a line that he says in that movie that I said all through high school, but I didn't see that movie until I was 18. I didn't know that he said that line. I heard that line in another show. So the other show was referencing Aliens, and the line is "Stay Frosty." And this cartoon that I watched called Reboot, the main character would say "Stay Frosty," and I was like, that sounds cool. And then, so I started saying "Stay Frosty," and then people were like, what does that mean? I was like, be cool. So, yeah, that's what. So
I was looking through his filmography real quick, and I don't know why I didn't. Well, there are plenty of reasons why I may not have picked up on it. Did you realize that he had a role in The Mandalorian?
No. I feel like maybe I read. Who was he in The Mandalorian?
The credit is for the character of Lang, and it was in episode 1. I'm trying to remember who Lang was.
I feel like I remember seeing him, but I don't. But also at the same time, I'm like, oh, this feels like new information.
So doing a quick search. His face is actually present. I just didn't pick up on it. And I don't remember the character very well. So this actually says that it was in the last episode of season 2. I'm going to have to go back and look.
Yeah.
So that'll be follow-up. I'll certainly... I'm interested enough. I will follow up on that one. But I completely missed his appearance in The Mandalorian. But it's good to see that he's still out there being active.
Oh yeah. There's the most recent thing that I saw that he's or one of the most recent things that I saw that he's done is it has to do with aliens, and I don't know if it's fan fiction or what, but there's a book that he does the audio. He does the audio. Edit this for me because I don't know what you call the thing where somebody reads a book to you, the audio book.
He narrates it.
Thank you. Yeah, so he narrates an audio book that has to do with the Space Marines and aliens. And
full disclosure, I'm leaving that in.
It's funny. It's funny to hear. Like the podcast that I listen to, and they're like, okay, you're going to edit this out. It's not going to make the show. And I'm like, oh, I'm listening to it. So it definitely made the show.
Wait till you go back and re-listen to last week's episode.
Oh, boy.
Anyway, you were saying Michael Biehn narrates
he narrates an audiobook that I definitely will buy and listen to because it has to do with one of the alien something from the alien.
You were starting to say something about the Colonial Marines.
Yeah. I it was so. I'm gonna have to make this follow up and explain to what it is because I can't remember exactly what it was, but I believe it's so his character in Aliens was a Marine, and I believe the book that he narrates, the alien book that he narrates, is a book about the Space Marines.
That could be interesting. I know in general, anytime I saw him in I'm going to call it an action role, even though it's probably not the most accurate description based on his general filmography. He has certainly played action-related roles, but most of the time what I'm thinking of is more the portrayal of a action-oriented character in more of a dramatic role, if that makes sense. I don't know. There's something about his presence that has just always been appealing when you see him on screen.
Yeah. I think so. Like the first two movies I saw were The Abyss, Aliens, and then the one that really solidified him as an actor in my mind was Tombstone.
Excellent movie. I can't say anything bad about Tombstone.
Oh, I love that movie.
I'm going to interject real quick. I actually had to go and order a Blu-ray copy because for some reason I couldn't get my original DVD rip from the 2 discs to play appropriately, and I was annoyed. And so I ordered a Blu-ray copy to rip to make sure I had a good, seamless playback experience.
I got the Blu-ray of the movie because I was like, I love this movie. I should have a higher quality version of this movie. So I did that. I've only had to defend that movie to one person in my life, and I get the criticism that was put forth of the movie, but I felt like I had a fairly good defense for it.
So enlighten me, because I have yet to come across anybody who has criticized that film in particular.
Oh, it was like the thing that was pointed out was like, well, sort of about how he treated his wife, how Wyatt Earp treated his wife, and he basically cheated on her and so forth. That was like, and that he was
Wyatt Earp was toward her.
yeah. Well, I was gonna say he was like, so the thing is like they didn't like how this person, it's like he's portrayed as a hero, but look at how he's treated his wife. Look at how he's being a bully to this person. I was like, okay, he's bullying a bully, and that's how you speak to bullies. Referring to Billy Bob Thornton.
Yeah, I think the bigger response there that I would have is just that how do you think people acted during that time period?
Right.
Like the film isn't there to make the time period seem more equal and tame. The film is there to attempt to portray a story set in that time period. So, like, if you really think that most men were not, for lack of better phrasing, overly dominant, then you don't really know history very well.
Well, so the thing about it is that lawmen back then weren't any better than the outlaws. They were just happened to be on.
They were just sanctioned.
The rights, exactly, and maybe maybe they weren't stealing, but I think a good amount of them did. But there's probably the women and children aspect that come into play, where a decent man in those days, generally protected women and children, didn't go after women and children, where the outlaw didn't care. It's like if you shoot a woman or a child, it's like I think Johnny Ringo is a great example. Like he shot the priest at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah,
those outlaws were like, nobody batted an eye when they took the bride, and which is an awful thing to do to a person. But they all I can't remember the character or the man from history that was the leader.
I'm not the best one to ask, because even though I know like Val Kilmer played Doc Holliday, it's difficult for me to make that connection. I almost always say Val Kilmer.
Yeah, I'm just I'm blanking on the character's name. Gosh, this is all gonna be in it, isn't it?
When it comes
Curly
to
Bill,
film,
Curly Bill.
I was just gonna say, when it comes to film, it's perfectly acceptable to speak about the actor instead.
Yeah, because that's just what we do. So,
it all goes back to our association, right? Like
mm-hmm.
we see the actor's face, and if we know the actor well enough, that's who it is. It just so happens to be that he's playing this character or that character.
The only people that don't do that are actors, because they do see it's like, yes, I'm that, I portrayed this character, or I portrayed this person in history, but I know it's like I'm a real person, and people know me like as a completely different real person, whereas we know they're a real person because we understand how life and movies work, but we still look at them and we think, oh yeah, this is their likeness is. There's no difference between their likeness. It's just that they're in different costumes and so forth. And so it's actually fun. It was fun to explain that to children as they are learning that the actors play different roles. I think one of the first ones my kids recognized was Sylvester Stallone. They knew him as Rocky, and I can't remember what else they saw him in. They're like, they didn't understand. And it was like, how, and then that's where I had to start, they're like 3-4 years old. That's where I started explaining to them actors and characters and so forth. But
well, when you know him as Rocky, it's really difficult to see him as anything else.
I was just gonna say, Sylvester Stallone makes so much sense because every character he plays is so Sylvester Stallone, because you could look at it and say, well, he's not that good of an actor. I don't think that he's not that good of an actor. It's just that there's so much of Sylvester Stallone that's you can't unsee. So
yeah, I think he played really well into his strengths, and his strengths really are more his appearance and build, where I think he's an okay actor, mostly because of his general speech pattern. I think that's the biggest thing that kind of pulls him out of playing a role. But I remember seeing him in The Specialist as an example, and I thought he did a really good job of being that character. The only reason that I was kind of pulled out of it was just it was the same speech pattern that you saw in like Assassins and Rocky and Rambo and everything else that he has ever played.
He's been in. Yeah.
And same kind of thing with Schwarzenegger. Like I don't think Schwarzenegger is a horrible actor by any means. I think he can deliver his lines well, and has a certain level of understanding of timing and everything else. But his speech pattern doesn't change that much, and part of that is being English not being his primary language, or his first language, I guess is probably the better way to put it. But same kind of thing. He is always going to sound like who he is. That doesn't detract from the roles that he plays. It just means that it's something that you notice that isn't quite perfectly fitting with everything else.
Right.
And then you see, as much as I love Chuck Norris, it's another example. The man can't act overly well, but he is a phenomenal action movie hero because he can play that role in a way that only he can play. And you flip that around a bit, and you look at someone like Matt Damon, and it's like I would have never envisioned him as an action hero or an action movie hero, but the man can pull off the role without a problem. And I don't see Matt Damon when I watch like Jason Bourne versus Good Will Hunting. Mm-hmm. I'd see it from a facial recognition perspective, but the characters feel completely different. And, it's just the difference in the way different actors are able to fulfill their roles and how they get cast and everything else. Like, there's plenty that goes into it. But you don't watch a Stallone movie for phenomenal acting. You watch it for phenomenal action hero sequences.
I agree. And one of the ones who really, I don't think he gets enough credit is Matthew McConaughey. Like, for him to be Wooderson in Dazed and Confused, and then be in Interstellar, and be so different in Interstellar, I think he's a really good actor. And then again, I don't see Matthew McConaughey in Interstellar. I don't see him in True Detective. there's certain things about himself that there, like, and I picked him because he has a pretty distinct accent and a pretty distinct speaking cadence, but somehow his acting supersedes that, and I just don't, I'm not thinking Matthew McConaughey.
I agree with you, but I'm going to one-up you.
Okay.
Someone that I wrote off early and have come to recognize as a much better actor than I originally thought, Ben Affleck. I mean, there are a couple of people that could fit that role, or could fit that description, and a couple of others that come to mind that you could have guessed as well. But Affleck in particular, I never really thought of as anything other than a pretty face for a movie for a long time. But I started going back and paying attention to the way he played different roles and how he just kind of seamlessly fit into the different stories. And I can't help but think that my initial impression was wrong and flawed only because of, I don't know if it was typecasting specifically, but the similarities between roles at first where I saw him.
Yeah. See, I think another person who would fit in that category would be Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, I would agree. Though at the same time, part of me would also argue that there's something about his facial expressions that are always Nicolas Cage,
Right.
Like there's something about the way he expresses himself that you always see as him. But I also agree because in everything that I've ever seen him in, the characters have felt very true to themselves and well acted for the storyline.
Yeah, I was actually thinking initially I was thinking Tom Cruise, and I remember thinking Tom Cruise because I just remember watching the movie War of the Worlds, and about halfway through it, and I was like, oh my God, that's Tom Cruise. I can't believe that's Tom Cruise. And I was like, I thought he was doing such a good job that I forgot he was Tom Cruise. And that movie, the time that I watched that movie was about the time that he was jumping on Oprah's sofa. It was around that time. And I just remember, like, I watched that movie without thinking that he was, crazy Scientologist jumping up and down on Oprah's sofa. But the other one that I think might be even better. And it just left me. Christian Bale.
That's where I was when I was talking about Affleck. He was the other one that I immediately jumped into mind. That would be a way to just like call my hand and win.
Christian Bale is like supremely good in that way. I think about him in American Psycho. I think about him in Batman. I didn't really care for the Christopher Nolan Batman. I like Joker. I like the Christopher Nolan Joker, but I didn't care for him as Batman. But I thought he was good. But
we're gonna have to have a show about Batman.
Oh, I would enjoy that.
I was just thinking, I absolutely loved Christopher Nolan's interpretation in the first two films. I thought it broke down a bit in the third.
I have such a soft spot for the 1989 Batman.
I can understand that because to this day, Keaton is the best actor to have ever portrayed Batman.
I'm going to disagree with you and say that it's Chris Conroy.
No, Keaton.
I love
my convictions without a problem.
I love Keaton as Batman, but Chris Conroy as Bruce Wayne, he's just like, kind of a ditz. Like, he's a ditz. And then as Batman, he is like a proper detective, and he's calculating and reserved, and yeah.
So let's go ahead and mark that as next week's episode. We're gonna have to talk about Batman.
Yeah, I kind of want to watch Joker before. Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can find Joker and watch it because I haven't seen that yet, and I feel like it would be important to watch Joker.
I haven't either, but I do have a copy of it. Just FYI.
Okay, there it is. That's where to watch it. The other day I looked for Vertical Limit because it's an awful movie that has Bill Paxton in it and Chris O'Donnell. And I was just like, I remember watching it in 2001, and I wanted to watch it just because it's so bad, but so
Yeah, I realized that that's a gap actually in my library. I've got while we were talking about Michael Biehn, I also, after looking over his filmography, realized there were a couple of movies that I am missing that at some point or another I had, but I assumed that I had them on, legacy formats and never bothered to try to convert them or anything like that. So there's some room for improvement, shall we say, as far as some of the older films in my library, and Vertical Limit is one of those that I do need to add to the library.
Yeah. I was going to say that we got completely and totally sidetracked when I was trying to remember Curly Bill. And, Curly Bill didn't bat an eye when the bride of that wedding was going to be raped. And as soon as Johnny Ringo shot the priest in the head, he was just like, he didn't say anything, but it just like, he was not comfortable with that. And Johnny Ringo is just like, just another, he shoots he'll shoot anyone that's in his way. The guy was annoying him. Like, he shot him because the guy was yelling at him. That was his solution. And so it's just like, that's what we were talking about. And I don't remember why I brought that part up. Oh, just about bad guy, the outlaws, the difference between, even the difference between the outlaws, what they were doing. I think the outlaw, this reminds me of the outlaws in Westworld, the Man in Black in Westworld. I
still haven't seen Westworld.
Yeah, I will not spoil that. It's good.
You can certainly spoil it. I have no problems with it. At the rate that we are catching up on things that we are on our list to watch, I might see Westworld come 2030.
Yeah. Well, I was just gonna say that I still don't spoil The Usual Suspects and Seven. I think we've mentioned both of those movies, like not spoiling either of those movies before on this podcast. And I won't spoil those movies for people, because if you haven't seen it, even though The Usual Suspects is over 25 years old, I was like, I can't spoil that for someone. It's not okay.
I can understand that. I've at least seen both Usual Suspects and Seven. I typically don't go 20 years without watching something, but as you get older, time doesn't seem to manifest itself in the same way. And then 2020 compounded that.
Yeah.
So there's a pretty good chance that I've missed something over the past 20 years and just don't realize it.
Well, I think that I didn't watch The Usual Suspects until it was at least 10 years after the movie was released, and it wasn't ruined for me. I watched Seven, just a few years after it was released, so that made more sense. Like, it was closer to the release of the movie, but I just think
I actually watched Seven in theaters.
Oh, wow.
Very, very poignant memory.
I can imagine. I still, to this day, think the most disturbing thing I've seen in a movie is from Seven. And it's not, it's not the box. It's the Polaroid.
Yeah. There are a number of things to choose from, but it's another one of those where even though it's older at this point, I'm kind of the same way. Seven, I'm very careful about how I talk about it, because if you haven't seen it and you have any interest whatsoever in any crime-related psychological thrillers from a genre perspective, I just don't want to take anything away from that experience, because it's a phenomenal movie. It's a very disturbing movie, but it's also a phenomenal movie.
It is worth at least one watch. And maybe if if you're a person where certain images might disturb you too much, if you are gonna commit to watching it, it's like one of those ones where maybe watch it with somebody who knows where to tell you to kind of not look. But just the way they went to great lengths to make sure certain things surprised you. Like the movie makers went to great lengths. Not great lengths. They specifically set out to make sure that you got certain surprises while watching that movie, and it was perfect.
Yeah, I can't think of anything else that I would say flawlessly executed on that particular promise, but Seven did, without a doubt.
And I think The Usual Suspects was pretty similar. I think they did a really. They get a, like, when you think about the twist. Like, I feel like Fight Club came out in '99, and The Matrix came out in '99. Like, they came out like maybe even the same month. I'm not sure. They came out that summer, and Fight Club had this like twist that people talked about, and it's like, oh, here's this movie, and then later, like in September of '99, The Sixth Sense came out, and that's the one that people really talked about. And it's just like, I don't know, it's like it. All of a sudden, people thought, oh, putting a twist in a movie is a thing, and it sounded like all these other movies are putting twists in it. And it's just like, Seven came out a couple years before that. I think it was '97, and The Usual Suspects was in '95. And both of those, I feel like there's like the reveal in both of those movies, but it's not like, I don't know, it's just really well executed because it doesn't feel like it's not an attraction. It's just like how you would make that movie. That's the way you want to make that movie. But it's not like, here's this thing I need to check off because I'm making a mid to late '90s movie.
Yeah, just real quick, Seven was '95.
Oh my God, I thought, okay, so I know Usual Suspects was '95 as well.
Yeah.
So, So yeah, that's like 4 years prior to the Sixth Sense and The Matrix and the other movie I said.
Yeah, plenty of time for Hollywood to forget about it and then bring it back.
Yeah, like, it's a thing. And Bullet Time got real popular. The bullet time effect in The Matrix.
Yeah. Well, I have to give it credit. That was a phenomenal effect.
Oh yeah, super cool. But then when you're seeing it in Shrek, it's like, okay.
Yeah. It's also easily overdone very quickly, just like the shaky camera thing.
God, I never liked the shaky. I can't think of a single thing that I like the shaky camera in.
I can't either, but I do at least see how it could provide value from a storytelling perspective if used extremely sparingly and in very constrained circumstances. So I understand it. I just have yet to see it in a way that made me think, okay, that actually benefited from being shaky cam.
I feel like the chase scene in at the beginning of Casino Royale, which I could talk about Casino Royale alone. I could talk about that for a few minutes. But it was great because it's like, okay, Bond movie, there's a chase scene, and it's like, oh, it's not a car chase, which was super cool. And it's, dudes, the guy Bond is chasing is, using parkour techniques to evade Bond, and he's, jumping through, jumping around buildings, and he's in a construction site. There's a part where Bond barrels through drywall, and there's not I don't think there's a single bit of shaky camera in there. Like, I feel like there's like, and if they used a shot to do a shaky camera shot, that would be completely acceptable. But I don't recall any shaky camera at that point. Whereas the third Bourne movie, I just felt was so unwatchable because of how shaky the camera was.
Yeah, there's a reason that the only Bourne movies that I watch are 1 and 2, as far as rewatchability.
Those are good. Yeah, those are good. So, the three movies that really made me pick up on Michael Biehn was Aliens, The Abyss, or The Abyss Aliens, and Tombstone. And then I'm like, okay, was excited to see him in Terminator, because I saw Terminator pretty late. I didn't see Terminator until like the mid to late 2000s. And Terminator 2, just like almost 20 years later, held up so good. I love Terminator 2. Thought it did really well, but I did like, it was important to see Terminator before, and nobody ruined the thing between Terminator and Terminator 2 for me. And that was kind of fun. That was really fun.
I'm surprised, especially with how popular those became. With any kind of delay, I'm just surprised that neither of them were ruined.
Yeah.
Like I could easily see why something like Navy SEALs, K2, neither of them had a huge plot twist, but I could see where people wouldn't talk about them. But everywhere I went after Terminator came out, people were talking about it. And so either it's a difference in social circles or maybe just the way it was talked about, where I guess the people I was around talked more about the plot than maybe the people you were around, or I don't know, that for some reason or another that just really jumps out at me as being surprising.
I think what it is, I think the reason Terminator 2 didn't get ruined for me is because I didn't know anything about Terminator. Like, I didn't know enough about Terminator to have Terminator 2 ruined for me. And so that scene where in Terminator 2 where Sarah Connor is freaking out, like, I thought she should be freaking out. Like, I that was kind of it was kind of cool. And I think it was just because I personally did not have enough context to have it ruined for me. I'm sure somebody said something about it, but I just didn't know enough about it for it to be a problem.
That makes sense.
So I'll say the movie that I had the best and the biggest surprise was The Truman Show. And the reason...
That was Jim Carrey, correct?
I got a surprise. Yeah. I didn't know, going into that theater, I didn't know anything about the movie. I was literally thinking this was going to be about Harry S. Truman. And somebody said yeah, right? And somebody told me it was a Jim Carrey movie, and I was like, that's weird. But I didn't say so. But see, like, I did myself a favor and didn't say anything about it, thinking it was about Harry S. Truman before the movie. So I didn't see any trailers. I was like, so it was actually quite delightful to be that wrong about what the movie was going to be.
I can understand that. Did you ever see The Invention of Lying?
No.
That was one that, like, I knew the general context, but I didn't know really anything about the movie going into it. And so I just watched it, for the most part blind, and was pleasantly surprised. It was actually a really funny, really good movie to watch.
The Matrix was another one that I think I watched with, like, no preconception or no knowledge of what was going to be in the movie. And I just remember watching that opening scene with Trinity running on the wall, and I was like my friend had already seen it, and I'm like suggesting that it's this and suggesting that it's that, and he's just over there quietly smirking that, because I have no clue what I'm talking about. And that was kind of fun.
I can see that. I knew a little bit about The Matrix going into it. Probably would have been better had I not, but I thoroughly enjoyed the movie either way. Like, I enjoyed the sequels, even though they kind of fell off a bit for my taste as far as cohesive storytelling. But they were. I approached them as fun action film. And
that's important.
Yeah, so I didn't expect it to deliver anything but a good action film, and that I think that's why I still enjoyed them without a problem.
So going into The Matrix Reloaded, the second movie, I was expecting to be sort of as blown away as I was with the first movie. And going back and looking at the first movie, it's not that revolutionary. It's just that everyone in my age group was just that that unlearned about philosophy or whatever. I mean, those are fairly basic concepts. But I remember walking out of that movie, all of my friends trying to figure out what the last movie is going to be like, and I said it's just going to be an action flick. That's all. And they all looked at me and they're like, "No, it's got to be." They looked for something deeper, and I was like, "It's just going to be an action flick." And I was the only one. I went to see the last one, Revolutions, with my same group of friends, and I was the only one that wasn't disappointed.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference when your expectation lines up with what the movie attempts to deliver.
Exactly. So that makes me think of this a movie that came out a year before last, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Have you seen that?
I have not.
Oh. Do you know what it's about?
At a high level, yes.
Okay, so you've seen Inglourious Bastards?
Yes.
Okay, so knowing that Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is about the infamous Helter Skelter Manson murders, going into that movie, what would you expect? Having watched Inglourious Bastards, I feel like that's the one to pick out from Tarantino's previous works to compare with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah, see, the funny thing, or maybe the interesting thing for me, Inglourious Bastards felt more like it was just trying to objectively tell a story, as opposed to what I attribute to the kind of driving force behind his other works. It's not that I didn't enjoy it, it's just that it felt more like it was, this is a historical story and this is my interpretation of it. And so based on that comparison, I would kind of think the same for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. But I don't know that conveys exactly what I mean either, Yeah.
Well,
it's like maybe a better way to think of it is everything else I've seen by Tarantino attempts to be more of a story that has a cohesive narrative that is not derivative from something else. Inglourious Bastards, to me, felt like it was just trying to take this historical account and make it more of a interesting film. Not that it was attempting to be... Basically, that it wasn't attempting to be more than telling the story of this group of people in a Tarantino-style portrayal visually. It wasn't that it was trying to tell a story from a unique perspective or anything else. Does that make sense?
I can't.
Like
I have a hard of. Like I know what you're trying to say, but I just can't get on board with it because the only thing I get from Inglourious Bastards is that Tarantino wanted to rewrite history. Hitler committed suicide, and that was not good enough for Tarantino. Like he wanted more.
Yeah, I guess more what I'm comparing to is like you take something like From Dusk Till Dawn, and you look at it, and it's a very appealing story where you see that he wanted to tell a vampire story in a particular fashion. It wasn't that he was trying to create a narrative from a historical perspective about events. It was that, no, this is just a story about vampires, and whatever I decide to throw at it is just fun for me. Kind of like the same way I interpret the Kill Bill movies. It's more, I want to play with this genre. It's not that I want to tell a historical account of something. It's that I just want to have fun in this space. Does that help delineate it at all? Not really.
No, because I have a different takeaway on both of those movies because From Dusk Till Dawn is not a vampire movie. From Dusk Till Dawn is it's a vampire movie. I can't say it's not a vampire movie, but it's like it's a movie that's going in a direction, and let's see, it's a high, well, not a high, it's a getaway movie. Is it a getaway movie?
See, this
the brothers
perfectly illustrates the difficulty with trying to explain a Tarantino film.
Right, because like you don't know anything. Vampire, like as you're watching this movie, vampires are nowhere on your radar. You're just like, I love this because my sister, who's 10 years younger than me, one night was like, let's watch a movie, and I was like, okay. And she had said something about liking Ocean's 11 because she likes George Clooney. Like, she's like, I got a crush on George Clooney, and I was like, I get that. I could have a crush on George Clooney too. And I was like, hey, I bet I know a George Clooney movie you haven't seen that you're gonna like. And she's like, what's that? And I was like, From Dusk Till Dawn. And she's like, okay. And so we start From Dusk Till Dawn. I don't tell her anything. And that movie starts out with like two brothers that are on the run from the law, and they, one brother is definitely crazy. Like, he is like certifiable. He's a loose cannon because you don't know, they take a hostage and you don't know how bad he's going to be to that hostage. How cringy is this going to get? And then you put him with a man and his two teenage kids. One happens to be a teenage girl, and you're like, oh no, because it's like, he's like that's the worst thing that you could give. I think was his character's name Chester? I think it's.
That sounds right. It has been a while since I've watched it, but
Chester might be the character from Four Rooms, and I'll mention that in just a moment too. But it's like, it's super cringy, and then you get to the bar, and it's like, that's like, okay, dirty bar, and then it's like out of left field, Santanico Pandemonium turns into like the Queen of the Damned, and it's like, And I just remember when that movie was over, it's like, what'd you think? She was like, it was good. So, I mean, I just feel like that movie was, a lot of misdirection. It's like, I got you focused on the brothers escaping and them hopefully not doing terrible things to this family. And then it's like, oh, but they're going to all fight vampires. And so it's just fun that way. It's just like, okay, didn't see that coming. And I feel like James Cameron did that in the more mainstream way with The Abyss. It's like, hey, underwater, we got problems with an underwater oil rig. And then it's like, oh, it turns out it's because of, aliens. Yeah. And then Kill Bill, to me, is more like, what is the most non-linear way I can tell a story and it actually work? And I think he accomplished that with Kill Bill. And it turns out if you tell something in the most non-linear way, it ends up being the one movie that you end up making turns out to have to be two movies. It's still considered, like, they consider it, like, Kill Bill Volume 1 and Volume 2 is considered one movie. Like, when you get to when they were advertising Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, they kept calling it the 9th film, like Quentin Tarantino. And it's, if you talk about movies that were released in the theater, it's actually the 10th, but Kill Bill is considered one movie.
Yeah, I can see that. I think the biggest difference in the way we view them, like I look at Kill Bill and say, if I want to play with a story in a samurai-styled space, but I want to make it more modern and just play with what I can do, what would I create? And it's just a different lens through viewing that set of films. Kind of the same way, if you kind of back up and look at all of his films, you take a look at like Hateful Eight, and you think of, if I want to play in a modern-styled Western, for lack of any better way to narrow genres down, that kind of lens makes sense. And same thing with Kill Bill. If I want to think of it as I just want to play with a samurai-styled film, but make it more modern, well, that lens fits there as well.
Yeah.
And it also fits with, well, I guess it does break a little bit with From Dusk Till Dawn, but not a whole lot. Like, it's still, you still kind of see the same view of this is a Tarantino film. And then you look at Inglourious Bastards, and it doesn't quite fit the same lens. You know, it's more of a, I want to tell an account of something. I still want to play with it, you know, and provide a narrative, but it just doesn't quite feel the same as the other examples.
I feel like, so From Dusk Till Dawn, you know, it's not a movie he directed. He acted and wrote it. I don't think he wrote it by himself. I think he and Rodriguez wrote it together. I think they have co-writing credits for it. But Robert Rodriguez directed it, so it wasn't his direction. But they're such good collaborators, you can't help but think that they you know, Robert Rodriguez is like, you know, gonna take some things into consideration from Tarantino when they're making that movie. But I think that Inglourious Bastards is totally him wanting to play it, like just like Kill Bill. He wanted to play around with a World War II movie, and he was like, you know, if I'm already playing around with this, I might as well do what I want to do and take the biggest artistic liberty possible and rewrite history. Like there's nothing like, you know, nothing about it that is apologetic about. You know, there's no apologizing for completely changing how history actually occurred. And so I guess that, you know, it sort of means that his movies exist in an alternate reality or an alternate universe, parallel universe, if you want. And that's kind of fun to do, much like the Pixar theory exists. There's one for Tarantino as well, and so it's kind of fun to think about that. It's no surprise that in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, again, he rewrites history. He makes history the way he wants to make it, and it ties. You know, it kind of ties into, well, if Hitler dies in a fire that was set by a Jewish woman in Paris in a theater, you know, if he's locked into a theater in Paris and burned alive, okay, well, he can rewrite other things in history as well. So
yeah, I mean, I see that. I think I guess probably the better way to think of it and to kind of back off of the overall, or to look at it from more of a meta perspective. Inglourious Bastards was not one of my favorite Tarantino films. And so a lot of what I remember of it is just, all right, this is okay, or meh. I just didn't have strong feelings for it or fond memories of it, but I didn't dislike it either. And I think that's probably coloring my perspective of the film versus his other works. It's
you know, I feel like leading up to it, it's different. You know, it's interesting to see. It's like Reservoir Dogs. He's just like trying to get his foot in the door on his terms, and he does. And then I guess Pulp Fiction's his second movie, and he knocks it out of the park. Like, it's a fun movie, and it just really, it was the right movie at the right time for him. Like, it did really well. And then I think Jackie Brown does not get enough credit for how good it is, because Jackie Brown is such a good movie. And Kill Bill sort of just like frightened all of us because he decided, you know, he had he had made a name for himself, and he was able to do what he wanted. And he's like, I'm going to play around in this space, the samurai space, and I'm going to, you know, like there were parts of that movie that couldn't be filmed. They had to do they had to animate it. And it really lives up to certain genres of anime. And if you've never seen those genres of anime, it's a shocking movie.
Yeah, I really think Pulp Fiction and Kill Bill are my favorite works of his so far.
Oh, wow.
I don't know that I have a specific reason for that. I mean, Kill Bill, because it was just it pushed the edge as far as it possibly could.
Mm-hmm.
And I admire that to an extent. I don't really know why I like Pulp Fiction so much, other than just the age in which I saw it and everything that it kind of brought to the table that was unprecedented at the time.
Yeah, that's what it is. I think it's just like, oh, I didn't, like whenever you see Pulp Fiction, because I saw it a little bit late. I saw it maybe like 10 years after it came out. And it's just like you're watching that movie and you're just like, oh, you can do this in a movie. I didn't know you could do this in a movie, So, yeah. So, but like, I think, Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, and Jackie Brown, they all sit together pretty nicely. They're not they're very like 90s Quentin Tarantino. And then more than half a decade passes by and you get Kill Bill, and it's like I can see how he got here. Like I can see how this guy created, looking at his other movies, I can see how he created this, but it was the first volume was shocking because there's just so much blood.
Oh, it is by far the most violent film I think
Yeah.
I have ever watched.
Yeah. And then the second movie, like I went to see that movie in the theater with 3 of my friends, and one of them he refused to go see the second movie. So it was just me and one friend that went to the second movie, and we're both sitting there like just waiting for the bloodbath, and it just never happens. And it's just like, what a mind fuck. The other mind fuck I feel like he did was like, he does a good job of making you laugh when you know you shouldn't be laughing.
Yeah.
And then Inglourious Basterds was like kind of another half decade goes by, and it's kind of like, Tarantino decided to do a World War II movie. And then he decides to do a post-Civil War movie. And then he does, Grindhouse, the Grindhouse movie he did. Is it Planet Terror? Which one? One of them is Planet Terror, and one of them is Death Trap, I think. Am I right? That's the only...
Well, it was marketed a couple of different ways, so I'm not the best person to ask, because Grindhouse was definitely listed as a title.
That's the
but
two
I think
movies.
it encompassed both films.
Yeah, Grindhouse is the 2 movies together.
Okay.
And one of them is Planet Terror, and the other is... I can't remember. But I haven't seen either of them. I haven't
either, but I do have them.
Yeah, I know they're there. And I've just been kind of like, it's again him playing around in a certain space. And it's like after he did Jackie Brown, he's just started playing around in the spaces he wanted to play around in. And Inglourious, I think the Grindhouse came out. It came out before Inglourious Basterds. I forgot about that because I haven't seen it. I and also because it was marketed with that other movie by Rodriguez. I forget about it. And so anyway, he goes from World War II to post Civil War, and he does two movies in a row are like post Civil War. Like The Hateful Eight came out after Django Unchained. He stayed in that space, twice. So I don't know. It's I'm ironically such a fanboy of Tarantino. It's makes me feel really basic, but I still like it.
Yeah, I probably need to go back and watch Inglourious Basterds now that I've seen it, once and had my first take at it. I've never actually watched it a second time to see what I think of it, with a different perspective.
To me, the thing that sets it apart so much from the rest of his movies is Christoph Waltz. His performance in that and Django Unchained, just so. I mean, the writing is good, but Christoph Waltz is excellent. He is. I don't know how to describe what, other than just like, gushing over him. But I loved his performance in both of those movies, and I think Michael Fassbender's performance in Inglourious Bastard gets overshadowed. Like, it's a great performance, but it gets overshadowed by Christoph Waltz. I think everybody took a backseat to him, and he got an Academy Award for his performance in Django Unchained, and it was well deserved.
I actually still haven't watched that one.
Django Unchained?
Yeah.
There are scenes in that movie that are hard to watch, and things that Tarantino will make you cringe the way he makes you cringe, but the thing is, he earned it, and it really put certain things into perspective for me. And I was like, oh God, I never thought of, thinking about slavery and owning people to do work for no money and not allowing them to do what they want is horrible. But he brings it to real life in a way that I had never thought about slavery before. And it's really disturbing.
Yeah, it's been on my list to watch. I've realized that a number of movies that I have wanted to watch or put on the list to watch, I haven't seen since getting married, just because of the different tastes of my spouse and myself as far as what can be stomached on screen.
Totally.
And so there are a lot of things like this one in particular, and even Hateful Eight took me forever to finally be able to watch it, just because I had to kind of fit it in later after she had gone to bed. And at the end of the day, it's more just the time or carving out the time to watch something like that uninterrupted, because it's very difficult to watch part of a Tarantino film and then pause it and then try to pick it up again. If you don't have the full time allotted, you're probably just going to be in a repetitive cycle of trying to watch the whole thing and failing miserably and it not making sense.
I think I would put that pretty close to the top of the list because it's good, and there are things in that movie. So I alluded to like the atrocities that were committed and just the things that it's like I would have never thought about, and they certainly don't talk about them in school or whatever. But along with that, some of the best things I've ever seen in a movie are in that movie. There are scenes where Tarantino makes you laugh when you know you shouldn't be laughing. There is Don Johnson. Don Johnson, the actor that was in Miami Vice in the 80s?
Yeah.
He plays a character in this movie. He does a really good job. He plays a Southern plantation owner, and he does a really good job. And then, like, out of nowhere, who's that funny guy that's in like the movies like Superbad? He's kind of a big guy. Jonah Hill. Is his name Jonah Hill? Big guy.
Yeah, I mean, well, Jonah Hill is the curly hair, slightly heavy set.
Yeah. Kind of deadpan, not deadpan, but just kind of like, duh, you should know this already kind of humorous, like that kind of humor.
Yeah.
He's in it. Like,
I don't know why, but I didn't realize that.
I mean, it's just it's not a cameo, but it's not like it's just like, you see him in there. I mean, I guess it could be a cameo.
But it's more like a bit part.
Yeah, it's a bit part, and it's hilarious. It's like one of the funniest things I've seen in a movie, and at the end of the day, Christoph Waltz steals the show, and he's so good in that movie. He's better. I think he's better in that movie than he is in Inglourious Bastards. So I can't recommended enough.
I'll move it higher up the list. It still comes down to, like, if I don't know for sure that I can finish it in an evening by the time that, you know, everybody has gone to bed and it's just me, I'm just not going to start it, because I with his films explicitly, or I guess the better phrasing is with a Tarantino film specifically, if I can't watch it in one sitting, I don't feel right starting it.
Yeah, because it's not like he makes short movies.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway, it's good.
We've digressed drastically from what we had note-wise, which I fully expected. I do want to take just a quick moment to do two things. One, I keep hearing a little bit of scraping or something with the mic, and I don't know what I'm picking up, but might be something to figure out what the background noise is.
Is that it right there?
Yeah, it's quiet now.
Okay.
And two, I need to take a quick bio break.
Okay.
That or we wrap the show early, whichever of the two is preferable.
I feel like the micro topics that we have left don't fit in at all. So I could go either way.
Yeah, that's kind of why I was mentioning it, because I don't think those work, but I do kind of want to talk into after show real quick. So how about we'll do a quick bio break, and then I'll skip over the micro topics. We'll move them to another one, and then we'll go into after show.
Sounds good.
You can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at untitled_hosts. Send us an email at untitled.hosts@gmail.com, or follow the feed directly at the untitledpodcast.com. You can also find all sorts of ways to contact Jesse at jthart.com. Thank you for listening. That's a wrap. So Easter egg, you should go back to last week's show and jump to the chapter marker that says interlude.
I heard you, but I didn't hear what you said.
It was just saying, quick Easter egg, you should go back to last week's episode, look at the chapter markers, and listen to the one that says interlude.
Okay.
Do you recall humming, or I guess technically it's not humming, but it was what? Dun, 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 whatever. Mm-hmm. But I left that in the show.
I don't remember doing that.
It sounded good.
Awesome. Sorry, I grabbed a snack.
No, you're perfectly fine. Like this kind of part, like even last week when we had the quick break, like I edited out the part where I was playing with Farrago and that kind of stuff anyway. So like I remove certain things that are just completely inconsequential. Mm-hmm. But there was a section where you were semi-singing. I don't know exactly what you would call it when you do something like da,
sing song.
Da, 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 da. Yeah, whatever you would phrase that. It's not humming, but it's whatever it is. And I took a snippet of that and put it in as an interlude.
Anytime you need an interlude, just keep using that snippet.
Well, I don't know if it was the show before that or maybe two before. There was another one where there was an interlude, and it wasn't that same style, but it was where I called it out as something in between the sections.
I'm looking forward to hearing that. That's funny.
So obviously I'll put the outro, prior to the break and everything, and make that have fun. I don't have a lot with the after show, but I wanted to specifically ask a couple of questions.
Yeah.
So the setting that you were talking about, as far as we were talking about different shots and what might convey a particular feeling and everything else. Mm-hmm. Do you want to attempt to do some of that soon, with like the gimbal or basically, do you want to use your living room as a setting and try to put some shots together with some assistance, or are you thinking you're going to be able to do it all with just whatever you have available, solo. Or I guess the better way to phrase that, I know you were talking about trying to get certain shots and using your living room. Do you need some assistance getting those, or do you feel like you're able to get them?
I think I'm
solo.
So the thing that's holding me back right now is I have a couch in my living room that I want to take out of my living room. I want to move it into my basement, and there's some things I need to do in my basement before I can do that. And once I get that done, and hopefully sooner rather than later, like when I say sooner rather than later, like, working on it, getting everything ready this weekend so that I can do it next week, versus like in a few weeks is what I'm thinking about. And so that's my current delay on that. And it's like, once I do that, I think that I can get this like on a tripod. Like I have used one of the the UltraPod. Is it the UltraPod? Little tiny tripod. I think I can get the shot with that tripod. But I guess it sort of remains to be seen. But I'd like to get the trailer out this month.
Well, it's kind of what was making me think about it is like, what if you need assistance from me on capturing some video? Like, just let me know. I don't have a problem with it.
Definitely, like shots that you'd want to do with the gimbal, more shots climbing outside. I think so. Because I think it'd be cool. I think it would be a good idea to bring, because the iPhone, the iPhone 12 and 12 Pro have had, there've been the wide lens. That works really well for like a shot of the entire rock. And I think some shots, like big shots like that, like, or wide shots like that, along with other shots from the gimbal spliced back and forth, I think would look really good. In my head, like I can see it being good, where it's like,
yeah, I know what you mean, because
something to play around. It's certainly something I'd want to play around with.
Well, I was thinking while we were out there this past weekend, would have been fun had I been on top of the rock that you were climbing and filming you ascending.
Yeah.
So there are plenty of things like that I can think of that, maybe we just actually try to keep in mind as we're out there. I know that we're out there for fun, and trying to do more from a climbing perspective, but I think if we, at least over the next couple of weeks or however, I say couple of weeks, that assumes that we can get out there, once a week, but over the next couple of times going out there and climbing, trying to keep in mind video as well might help, because then you would have at least a handful of things to pull from. I don't know. I guess it just kind of dawned on me that I hadn't really done anything to try to encourage that. And that's the wrong phrasing, because that's not exactly what I mean, but I think you get the idea. I realized I hadn't tried to mention it and help prod it forward from that perspective, I guess, to help give you that base of, footage to be able to pull from.
I think that one of the things I forget is like, no. I need to get I can't climb this rock all the way by myself right now. Like that's actually something that goes in the beginning. It goes in the first videos. Like I can't complete this thing. Like I'm not capable right now, and because it's going to show progression as that's the whole point of the video, is like showing a certain progression and a certain change, a transformation. And I keep forgetting that that's okay. It's actually going to be okay to have a video where it's like, I only did 3 climbs today because that's all I can do right now.
Yeah, and I think the big thing that kind of dawned on me is I constantly forget about video. I've just lived, so long, and either I have my camera and I'm taking stills or I don't. And so I keep forgetting to grab the phone and record video because I have been so removed from doing video for so long that video just doesn't come into mind naturally. But I realized that it would help you if I think of doing video related, filming the attempts or activities more regularly. And so I'm trying to continually remind myself that, you know what, just grab the phone and record a snippet. It's B-roll, if you want to think of it that way.
Yeah, yeah. I think that like I go out there and I think about like everything. I was like, oh, I could get a video of this. I could get a video. I think about that for everything, and I'm like, but it's not gonna be a good video. And then I'm like, oh yeah, I need the beginning of it is going to be videos that are not good videos because it's a transformation. It's like if I don't take the bad videos, quote unquote, then you don't see the transformation. And I haven't been in that mindset of like, oh, I need the videos that are quote unquote bad videos or whatever. Not the quality of the video, but like an incomplete climb.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I completely follow. And it's one of those things where toward the end of while we're out there, I think, oh, wait a minute, I should record this one. I just need to do a better job of remembering to film stuff in general, which even aside from this project, like that's true of a number of things. Like I'm horrible at remembering of filming snippets of different things that Jacob does, or different family outings, because I've just lived in still photo world for so long.
Yeah,
and so part of it is me remembering that, but the other part of it is like while we're out there, this last trip being a perfect example. If I had thought about it, I would have just gotten up to the top, since I know that I'm more comfortable doing that at this point, just based on fitness levels. Once we set the pads in a good place, as long as we know it's in the right place, there's no reason I can't go ahead and climb up and then record from different angles and try to give you access to plenty of that footage that could be helpful. Like I think about it, but then I don't think about just doing it, I guess, is the disconnect.
I think maybe like the next time we go out there, it's like, okay, let's plan to get these shots, and then once we've gotten all those shots, then we can play around and not worry about recording.
Yeah, that sounds good.
I think that might be a good approach for it.
And it's probably better in general from the first couple of climbs being more successful in general. It took me a couple of days to recover from overdoing it.
Yeah, that was somebody was telling me that's like right now, beginning climbers, you should not, you should wait a couple of days between climbs, at least a day. So,
yeah, my body definitely told me that I overdid it for even this morning I was still semi-sore, and so that was 3 days ago.
Yeah, I mean it's God, it feels like it's been like a week ago, but I mean it really does, and yeah, I mean I didn't, yeah, it just it's surprising how quickly it.
Well, and in fairness, I haven't done myself any favors. Like I have famously told Emily repeatedly that no, I'm not going to take a rest day. Eventually, my body will just accept that this is the new reality and quit being sore. I don't think that's actually going to happen. I think eventually I'm going to hurt myself, and so I'm trying to I'm trying to back off of the intensity of my workouts without stopping my workouts, because I realize that I'm going to hurt myself if I keep on this path.
You'll be out for way too long.
Yeah, that realization kind of started to set in, and so it's one of those things that I recognize that I am overdue for a break. I just don't want to not hit my move goal as far as active calories burned for a day at the moment yet. But that doesn't mean I can't back off the intensity and make it not relaxed. Relaxed isn't the word I'm looking for. I can make my active calorie burn goal without exerting the level of intensity that I have been doing. Like I can back off the intensity and still meet that. And that's what I'm trying to focus on for at least a week or so. Give myself some semblance of a break, because at this point I'm too close to a year of constantly hitting that goal that I want to hit it 365 days in a row.
Last year was a leap year, so it's going to have to be 366.
Hey, that's fine. Like realistically, by the time I do that, it's going to be, all right, what's another day?
Yeah, and then you'll be like, I'm too close to 500 because,
Yeah, that's exactly what has kept me going up to this point. Like at first it was, I'm going to hit 30 days, and then it was, all right, well, I'm this close. Why not 45? And so I just kept adding on, and that's how I've gotten to where I am now. But I have been sore for long enough that I need to give myself a rest without actually resting.
Well, if you think about human evolution, it's like, our hunter-gatherer ancestors, if they rest, they didn't eat. Actually, that's probably not true, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, well, it goes back to kind of the beginning of this journey. Like there were some days where I just couldn't do more than walk. And at that point, it was just from being out of shape, right? Like I just literally could not do more than just get out and walk for, an hour, 2 hours, whatever. So what I've been trying to remind myself of is, even if let's just say I choose a particular workout to do and I do it, I can make it a relatively relaxed variant of that workout as far as dropping the intensity way back and just do it twice for that day. Or I can go walk for, half an hour on top of that lower intensity workout. Like I've remembered, I guess, the early days of this journey to say a rest day doesn't have to be a non-activity day. It just has to be a day that I don't exert a certain amount of energy or more at a given point. I think that makes sense. It makes sense in my phrasing or in my mind.
I think that makes sense. It's like, yeah, a rest day is not necessarily I don't do anything. It's a day where you don't do you don't push yourself to as hard as you have been pushing yourself. You still need to move. You still need to be active. That's always important. It's just not it's toning it down a little bit. Like in my head, every time you're like trying to say like not quite as much, I just kept in my head. I just kept thinking low impact aerobics.
I was waiting for you to say just stay frosty.
I haven't. It has not been in my. It hasn't been a thing I've said for quite some time.
But yeah, all that to say, that was all I really had for the after show. I just wanted to make sure that I was conveying that I realize I keep forgetting about video, so don't by all means prompt me. But I think if we just focus on getting video the first, portion of being out there and then just having fun with it afterwards, it's probably a better approach.
I think that's a great approach. So I guess with that, did you have anything else?
No, I think that takes care of it.
Yeah, I guess stay frosty.
And here I was waiting on that's a full lid.
Stay frosty now.
That's all right. The outro still has that's a wrap.
All right. All right, man.
All right. I'll talk to you later.
All right. Bye.
Bye.